The story of the girl and the Jinn begins in a quiet village surrounded by endless fields and an air of mystery. Among its people lived a young girl named Aisha, known for her pure heart and unwavering faith in Allah. She was kind, humble, and deeply connected to her prayers. But one night, her peaceful world began to change. It started with whispers, soft at first, like the rustling of leaves. Then, strange occurrences began around her home. Doors creaked open by themselves, shadows moved where no one stood, and her nights grew restless. Her parents thought it was her imagination, but Aisha knew something was wrong. One evening, while reciting her Quran before sleeping, she felt a cold presence near her. The lamp flickered, and a dark shape appeared in the corner of her room. It was not human. It was a Jinn. Its voice was deep and full of pride. It said it had been watching her, testing her faith, and wanted to scare her away from her devotion. Aisha's heart raced, but she remembered the words of Allah. "Indeed, over my servants you will have no authority." She recited Ayat al-Kursi, and her voice grew stronger with every verse. The Jinn screamed in anger, vanishing into the darkness. For a few days, peace returned. But then the Jinn came again, this time in her dreams. It whispered temptations, trying to make her doubt Allah's power. Each time, Aisha fought back with prayer, dhikr, and verses from the Quran. Her family finally realized what was happening and called a scholar from a nearby town. The scholar explained that some Jinn test believers to weaken their faith, but those who remain steadfast are protected by Allah. He performed ruqyah, reciting specific verses over the house, and reminded them to always keep faith and recite Quran regularly. Over the next nights, Aisha's strength grew. She no longer feared the whispers or the darkness. Every time she felt the Jinn's presence, she turned to Allah, saying, "Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil." Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best protector. Slowly, the disturbances faded. The Jinn, realizing it could not break her spirit, finally disappeared forever. Her courage, patience, and trust in Allah became an example for the entire village. People came to her, seeking advice and strength in their own struggles. In the end, Aisha learned that true power does not lie in fear, but in faith. The Jinn tried to frighten her, but her belief in Allah's protection made her stronger than any unseen force. The Girl and the Jinn is more than just a story. It's a reminder that when your heart is filled with faith, no darkness can overcome your light. Allah's protection is always near. We just need to believe, recite, and trust. As time passed, Aisha's life slowly returned to normal, but something within her had changed. She was no longer the timid girl who used to fear the dark. Her faith had deepened, her prayers became stronger, and she began to understand the true meaning of tawakkul, complete trust in Allah. One evening, while sitting by the window and watching the sunset, she thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the whispers, the sleepless nights. They all seemed distant now, almost like a test she had passed. But she also knew that evil never truly disappears. It hides, waiting for weakness. So she promised herself to never miss a single prayer again. Days turned into weeks. One night, as the wind howled outside, she heard a faint voice again. It wasn't the same terrifying growl as before. This time, it was sorrowful. The Jinn spoke, saying, "Your faith burned me. Your words hurt me more than fire. But you taught me something. I had forgotten the mercy of Allah." Aisha sat silently, listening, her heart calm. She didn't respond in anger or fear. She said softly, "If you truly wish for mercy, turn to Allah. He forgives whom He wills. Leave me in peace and seek His light." There was silence for a long moment. Then a faint sigh echoed, and the air around her felt lighter. It was as if a burden had been lifted from both worlds, the seen and the unseen. From that night, Aisha never heard or saw the Jinn again. But she often thought about that final encounter. She realized that her courage hadn't just protected her, it had also reminded a lost soul of Allah's mercy. Years later, Aisha became known as a wise and pious woman. People from nearby villages came to seek her prayers and advice. When they asked her about fear or dark forces, she would always smile gently and say, "The Jinn are real, but so is Allah's protection. Light always defeats darkness when the heart is sincere." Her story spread far and wide, inspiring countless others. Parents told their children about the girl who faced a Jinn with nothing but faith. Imams mentioned her courage in Friday sermons, and Aisha herself continued her quiet life, teaching the Quran to young girls, reminding them that the greatest weapon a believer has is faith. Before she passed away, she told her students one last thing. Never forget that fear belongs only to Allah. No creation, no jinn, no shadow can harm you if you keep your heart firm in His remembrance. Even after her death, people said that her home carried a strange peace. Those who entered to pray there felt comfort, as if unseen blessings surrounded the place. Aisha's legacy lived on as a symbol of unshakable faith. The girl and the Jinn became not just a tale of mystery and fear, but a story of mercy, courage, and the endless power of Allah's protection. Many years passed after Aisha's death, but her story continued to echo in the hearts of those who heard it. The small village where she once lived became known for its peace and faith. Travelers often stopped by the mosque to hear the old imam tell her story, the story of the girl who faced darkness and found light. One evening, a young boy named Hamid sat quietly in the corner of that same mosque. He had heard the story many times, but this time it felt personal. For several nights, he had been feeling uneasy. He heard whispers when no one was around and saw fleeting shadows near his window. Fear began to grow in his heart. Hamid decided to visit Aisha's old home, which was now a small Quran school run by one of her former students, Fatima. When he told her what was happening, Fatima smiled gently and said, "Do you know what Aisha would have told you?" Hamid shook his head. She replied, she would say, "Do not fear what Allah created. Fear only the one who created them." That night, Fatima gave Hamid a small booklet of Ruqya verses and taught him how to recite them before sleeping. She told him to keep his wudu, recite Ayat al-Kursi, and say Bismillah before entering any room. When Hamid returned home, the night was silent. He opened his window, letting in the cool breeze, and began to recite in a steady voice. At first the air felt heavy, almost pressing against him. Then slowly the fear began to fade. He could feel his heart settling as the verses filled the room with calm. For the next few days, he kept up the same routine. Whenever he felt uneasy, he remembered Aisha's courage and her words of faith. One night, he heard that same whisper again, a faint echo in the darkness. But instead of fear, Hamid smiled. He said aloud, "I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan." Suddenly, everything went quiet. The air became still and the shadow disappeared. Hamid felt peace. Real, deep peace. For the first time in weeks. The next morning, he ran to Fatima and told her what happened. She nodded and said, "Aisha's story lives on through you now. When you choose faith over fear, you carry her legacy forward." As Hamid grew older, he became a respected teacher in the same school. He often told his students about Aisha, the girl who faced a jinn and won through faith alone. He reminded them that belief in Allah's power could overcome anything unseen or unknown. And just like Aisha's words had once guided him, Hamid's voice guided a new generation. The village remained a place of light, faith.